Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the new Brit workshop. For years I've been using this homemade bobbin sander in my pillow drill, and as a result the bearing is about to go. It needs to be replaced. So it really wasn't such a good idea after all. But help is at hand, and Jet have come to my rescue. This is the JBOS 5 oscillating bobbin sander, and it's come from Axminster, and just look at this, purpose-built for the job. Now it comes with a generous supply of bobbins and loadings. Let me take you through it. It comes with a 50mm bobbin, a 38mm bobbin, 16, 12 and 6mm bobbins. And there are table inserts for the different sizes of bobbin, including the angle insert that's needed if you tilt the machine over and therefore you have to have an elongated hole in the insert. So it's got those inserts included. And I've added the 76mm bobbin as an optional extra and the associated insert that goes with it. Now let me just take you through the setting up procedure. Now I really would recommend that any machine in your workshop is fixed to a surface, whatever that surface might be, and that's a sound surface. And so what I've done with this one, there were two existing holes underneath the casing here, and because I couldn't put ordinary bolts through, what I've done is I put some threaded bar, a nut on the inside, and that's one of those nylon retaining nuts, so it's got the locking function in it, and a nut this side, and that's holding the bit of bar in place on both there and there. And I've got holes drilled in my bench top, my mobile bench top in this case, and that's going to slot down, and then I can fix it from underneath, and it will be then very secure. Now I'm sure you've heard me say this before, whenever you get a new piece of cast iron machinery in the workshop, the first task before you plug it in is to clean off the protective oil and grease which has been placed all over the place on this cast iron before you try and use the machine for the first time. Otherwise you'll be terribly disappointed. And whilst you're doing this, it's a good idea to check all the way around that there are no little sharp bits which have been missed when they've cleaned up the casting in the factory. This one's perfect, and make sure you completely dry it off, and any of the other bits that have come with it. And finally I give my cast iron surfaces a generous coating of this lubricating wax. I've got this is from Liberon. There are lots of other makes available. I bought this years and years ago. I reckon I've still got half of it left, and I use it on the planing machine, and it really does an excellent job. So put that on, and that really just helps to preserve the cast iron. It stops it from going rusty in the workshop. If you don't have this ready to hand, you want to put something on straight away, ordinary wax polish is really good. Let it dry and then buff it up. You can also use it on the long metal parts of sash clamps and so on. Stop them rusting in the workshop. Now at the rear of the machine is a dust port. It's 50mm in diameter. And one of the things you could do is to get an adapter like this and connect it to your 4-inch chip extractor. I'm not in favour of using a chip extractor because we're producing fairly fine dust here, and most chip extractors don't have the handling capability for fine dust. However, if you have a Festool extractor, and this is the 36mm hose that I have with my Festool extractor, that fits in there absolutely perfectly. Now if you're struggling to find the right size adapter in order to connect the machine up to your own extractor system, you might like to try making up your own adapter, as I've done here. And what I did was I took a piece of normal 2.5-inch clear dust extraction pipe, which I got from Axminster, and I attached string at this end, string at that end, had it held vertically with the weight down here, and I got it spinning, and I used my hot air gun and the weight at the bottom made it get thinner and thinner in the middle, and I want it to spin at an even rate. Now I'm going to get my hot air gun and I'm going to warm it up. And eventually, when I thought I was at the right size, I stopped, and now that is an adapter just about perfect for this machine. And you can then connect it to the hoses that you might have as part of your dust extraction system. Now, in order to fit and remove the bobbins, you need a pair of spanners which are supplied, and you'll see under here, I hope the light is good enough, you can see a nut there, and there's a shaft with a pair of flats on it here as well. So what I can do now is to put one spanner on the shaft and the other on the bobbin, and the threads now are left-hand threads. So in other words, you're going the opposite way to tighten them and loosen them. And putting the bobbin back on is the reverse procedure, remembering it's a left-hand thread, and then just finish off with a little nip with the spanners. Now, the way the loadings, that's sandpaper, is held on the bobbins is very simple. There's a nut on the end here, and as you tighten that, so it causes the barrel of the bobbin to expand. And so in its loose state, the loading can fit on nice and easily. And then if I were to tighten this up, and this is a left-hand thread, like so, that then is now holding that loading on nice and tightly. Now, it is possible to change the loadings in situ. Remember, it's a left-hand thread, and it's easy to take that off, and I can then replace it with a new loading. And remember that this is a left-hand thread. And that's that back where it should be. And all three of these spanners are supplied with the machine. And for the smaller bobbins, you'll see a little screw just there, and that really is a simple retainer. It's putting pressure on the bobbin, and there you see the loading can be removed very easily. And when you put a new one in, just tighten that up so it nips and holds that loading in place. Very simple. Now, the inserts simply lift off. You can put your hand underneath here just to lift it initially, and then replace with a different insert. And there is a little cutout, you may be able to see it just here, and there's a little detent there, and you get the two lined up, and it sits down nicely. Now, the motor in here is a 650 watt motor, 240 volt for the UK models. It generates a spin rate of 1425 RPM. The stroke is 22 millimeters. Now, if you're designing a cabinet to put this on, and I've modified a cabinet so that it's the right height for me, you need to work out what your preferred height is, and bear in mind that the height of the machine from its surface here to here is 470 millimeters. Now, it weighs quite a bit. It's 35 kilos, and that's more than one should be moving around the workshop by lifting it in and out of position and so on. You do really need to have it in its own purpose-designed place in the workshop. And that's why I've put it on this mobile cart, and I can move it out of the way when it's not in use, and so on. Now, I've got this machine connected to my dust hub via a 36 millimeter Festool hose, and as soon as I turn the machine on, the vacuum will start. Well, I can confirm that really does a super job, and the dust extraction is really good. Now, despite that, It's a sander, and you should check your own setup, because if your extractor is not as efficient as mine, then you need to wear a dust mask. I just wish you could feel that. That's really lovely compared to what it was when it started. Nice job. Now, if you're frequently doing thin bits of wood as I've just done there, you'll notice that you tend to be using the same spot on the sanding disc. Well, what you can do is to move it around. Now, one simple method might be to turn it up the other way. And now you've got a different place with some fresh grit. I don't think it's practical to have it in a different position by just raising it a bit, because when you tighten up here, it may be that this rubber, which is getting compressed, distorts slightly where there is no loading. So I think just turning it up the other way is about the only thing you can do. You could, of course, have some form of distance piece here, but you've got to allow for the flow of air going to your dust extractor. And another way of getting a little bit of extra life out of your loadings is to give them a quick vacuum off from time to time before they get absolutely clogged up. And I hope you can see the difference that that simple process has made. It's not perfect, but it's going to last a lot longer now. Now, it's very simple to adjust the angle of the bed here. Remember to swap the circular insert for the oblong one. All we need to do is to undo this knob, and there's a corresponding one on the other side, like so. And now I can adjust the angle. And you can read off the angle here, and it goes all the way up to 45 degrees. Now, if when you first get the machine you check the bobbin to see if it's at right angles to the bed when it's in the zero position and it's not quite right, you can adjust this bolt here, which acts as a stop for the bed when it's down in the horizontal position. So I'm going to set this at the angle I need. It's a shallow angle for a chair back. And I've got just a little bit more to go, but I think you get the idea. It's absolutely super. Well, that's it. I've taken you through it rather rapidly, but I hope I've covered everything. I'm really grateful to Jet, through their UK agents, Brimark down in Axminster, for providing this machine so that I can make this video. Thank you very much indeed. And I think you've seen it's a gutsy machine. It's certainly well made, it's solid, it's going to give years and years of service even in a busy commercial environment. It weighs 35 kilos, so never mind the quality, feel the weight. It's great. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.